We're going to talk about 3 dudes that could commit to Alabama. Literally, by the time we finish this podcast, one of them or 2 of them may have already committed. If you follow Twitter, you know Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator, tweeted out an elephant emoji, which typically means a commit is on the way, or maybe he saw an elephant. I don't know, but I think it's that a commit's on the way. So we're going to talk about potentially who that could be on today's Locked On Bama.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Whistling Rufus show, apparently. Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Just into that theme song, man. That's a good one.
It is a good one. So, Jimmy, let's just start off where we start off. First of all, thanks for making this your first listen when it comes to Bama podcast. It looks like Alabama's going to get a commitment sooner rather than later. We are recording at 1:55 on Tuesday afternoon. My bet is sometime before 5 o'clock that commitment is made public. We believe it will be Justin Jefferson, who I just put a picture of right here. He looks like a man-child, really more of a man-man. He is an absolute beast. He's not the Justin Jefferson you first think of, but he's the Justin Jefferson you will want on your team.
Well, I'll take either one of them, honestly, although I think even with today's NIL rules, it's a stretch to think that the Vikings receiver could play for Alabama. But I think it might be Justin Jefferson that is in the process of committing. I think that's possible. If it's not him, I still consider Alabama the favorite to land Justin Jefferson. So why not talk about him, whether he's committing now or later? Real good player. It's very difficult coming up with a comp for him because he's so different. He's such the modern inside linebacker. This is a kid that no doubt 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago is no doubt a really big safety, kind of in the Mark Barron sense. But in today's football, he's a linebacker. And a good one, he's physical. He'll hit you. He'll get you to the ground. But his trait far and away that makes him special is the speed. This is a guy with fantastic speed for a receiver, for a defensive back. He has plus speed even for those positions. He's not fast for a linebacker. He's fast for a person who plays football. You used to never see that at inside linebacker. Now you do a little bit. He's got a nice frame. He's got some length, probably more of a Will than a Mike. Most inside guys can easily flip between the two. To me, he's just more of an athlete. You want to free up and play in space and not so much keep him in the traffic, directing personnel. I think he's just more of a guy that's so good in space. You want him there. He can rush the passer. He can drop into coverage. But hey, if you're thinking, this is just a safety, he's too thin. He doesn't have enough butt to play up with in that traffic. You're wrong. He will scrape. He'll get off blocks. Real good player. I think he could be as high as maybe the number one inside linebacker on Alabama's board. Certainly up there with maybe Anthony Hill, the linebacker from Denton, Texas.
Where's he from originally, Jimmy?
Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis.
I like
Non-qualifier out of high school. Then signed with Pearl River. Who I think Jimmy Buffett went to junior college there. How about that for a little trivia? I doubt he knows Jimmy Buffett. I doubt it. But or has heard of Jimmy Buffett. I also doubt that. But anyway, it could be Justin Jefferson. If it is, hey, it's reason to celebrate. I don't know that a JUCO really helps your recruiting rankings these days, but what does that matter? I mean, put it this way. This is how good that kid is. That's what I think would happen. If Justin Jefferson commits to Alabama, I believe he would start for Alabama next season at inside linebacker, despite the fact that Alabama will have Deontay Lawson, Kendrick Blackshire, Jahad Campbell. I think Justin Jefferson starts in front of all of them.
Wow, that's pretty high praise. You're right. JUCO linebackers, JUCO players in general are not really the norm for Alabama, I would say necessarily, but we could get 2 commitments, one being Malik Benson, who we'll talk about in just a bit, the wide receiver, and also Justin Jefferson, who we think will commit today. We believe it. I mean, when Pete Golding puts out the elephant emoji tweet, that typically means we're getting a commitment. I mean, it doesn't typically, it always means we're getting a commitment.
Or
right?
One of his kids is playing with the phone.
Good point. Do you think he got hacked by the same guy that hacked DJ Fluker? Let me tell everybody about Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need, Rock Auto. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure the often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Honda Odyssey an LX or an EX? Is your Ford Explorer a Limited or a Honda Limited or whatever? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts in their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket in the form of an iPhone and or Android. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more from the auto parts store when you can save that kind of money from Rock Auto? Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every single customer. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in the Hide to Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All right, Jimmy, let's talk about Justin Renaud here. This is a defensive lineman we really like. We've talked about him in the past, but this is also another candidate that could be committing. We have narrowed it down to 3 players based on the emoji Pete Golding sent out. We think it's either Justin Jefferson, Justin Renaud, or Malik Benson.
Jordan Renaud.
Justin Renaud, my bad.
Or Edric Hill from Missouri.
Yeah. By the way, take out Malik Benson. He's already announced he's on July 5th.
Yeah, he's going to announce July 5th.
Yeah. So it could be Hill, that a guy a lot of people thought was headed to Michigan. But let's talk about Renaud right now, because this is a guy I know you and I both love. He would be a huge pickup in our eyes, and it'd be awesome if he went ahead and committed. This could end up being like a banner 30 days here with some of these commitments lined up.
Right. Renaud's another really good kind of national top 100 type prospect, defensive lineman from Texas. Little odd body-wise, just like we were talking about Justin Jefferson. He's kind of light but fast for an inside linebacker. Here's a guy, Jordan Renaud, who we project as a defensive lineman. We think he's going to be a big kid in college. But today, he weighs like 235 or 240. I mean, that's what he weighs today. If you looked at Jordan Renaud today and said, here's a guy on your SEC college football team, you're going to think, oh, he's an outside linebacker like Will Anderson, like Dallas Turner. And that's because today he looks like they do. But this is a kid projected to grow. He's projected to be a thicker, more down lineman kid that's going to be in the defensive line room with Freddie Roach, not in the outside linebacker room with Coleman Hutzler. But Renaud does have to add that weight. Now, athletically, he's fun to watch. I mean, he doesn't have the Will Anderson, Dallas Turner twitch that I'll call. I mean, he's not that athletic, but he would have great athleticism if he added that weight, slid inside. I'll tell you, this is a terrible comp. So forget I said it as soon as you hear it. But I'll just say Jonathan Allen is built the same way Renaud was at the same age. Whereas Jonathan Allen going into his senior year in high school was 235, 240. But everybody knew, hey, this is going to be a 290-pound player in college. And everybody, the recruiting world believes and coaches believe that Renaud is headed for 290, that he ain't 235 or 240 for his career like Will and Dallas are going to be. So, he's got to gain the weight, but boy, things worked out pretty well for Jonathan Allen, So it would be exciting to get Renaud, a bit of a project. When I hear that, that's a word that turns some people off, but those are the people that don't realize, hey, really, they're all projects. No one's showing up a first-team All-SEC player.
Whenever you say Jonathan Allen, first of all, I think, what a man. I mean, am I crazy to say that if you could make a statue of one person from the Saban era, one player, maybe it should be Jonathan Allen? I mean, he's the ultimate Saban bot.
Yeah, that's why.
He almost fought Deron Payne on the Washington Commanders sideline, which I thought only Hercules would take on. Honestly, if Deron Payne says, I want to fight you, don't you just say, wouldn't it be easier for me just to take pliers and rip my own teeth out? Wouldn't that be just as safe and save time?
I'm just thankful, as are all of us, that you said "What a Man" and you didn't sing "What a Man" by Salt and Pepper and In Vogue.
Yeah. That is true. I could have gone that direction. I do think it would be fitting. But you're also saying, no doubt, Jordan Renaud will definitely Superman a dude flying over him to sack the quarterback against Texas A&M here, right?
That's what I said. That's what I said. I said he'd be exactly like Jonathan Allen. Now he's just. I like Renaud. I want Renaud. He's a defensive lineman. He's just a little different than like a James Smith, right? Who's showing up. James Smith is going to show up big and strong enough to be a defensive tackle in the SEC. Now, what he's got to work on is shedding some baby weight and being just, an NFL pile of 315 pounds of muscle. Renaud needs to add weight. I mean, just different body types, but really could end up being the same kind of kid, both.
All right, Jimmy, I need to tell everybody about Bet Online, as I do always. Do I still have my Bet Online picture? I do, and there it is. Bet Online is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcast, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, that's where the game starts, yo. I'm trying to fit in with the younger crowd, yo. I don't think it's working, yo. I'm making myself laugh. Somebody always said, I'm the worst at laughing at my own jokes. And I think that's probably true. It's just like this nervous laughter. I just hope somebody out there is laughing with me. All right, Jimmy, let's talk about, first of all, I want to throw out there that our main man, Tony Mitchell, who just committed to Alabama, who 2 weeks ago we all thought was a given to Texas A&M, is now hitting the recruiting trail via Twitter. He just tweeted at Caleb Downs, "Hey, man, what are you waiting for? You know the move." So that'd be kind of cool if he and Caleb Downs both played for Alabama. But
especially with Alabama losing Derek Williams to Texas, I was a little surprised about that, honestly. Yeah. I like Derek a ton. I think I like Derek more than Alabama does, which is saying a lot. I like Derek a ton as a prospect. Committed to Texas last night, one of the best pure safeties on Alabama's board. I'm not saying it makes Caleb Downs a must get. It's nothing like that. But Caleb Downs is even more important today than he was yesterday because of Derek Williams committing to Texas.
Yeah, and it's funny. There must be some Texas fans that look through Google and put Derek Williams' name in because they found our podcast or your quick hitter on Derek Williams. And a ton of Texas fans were saying, "Oh, we got, hook 'em horns." And I was like, "Hey, look, congratulations. We are literally happy for you. I want Texas to be good. I think college football is better when the Blue Bloods are good. I want you to be good. That being said, beat Kansas before you talk crap to us, please. Okay? Isn't that fair?"
It is fair. And glad I could make their day with that raving. I like Derek Williams a lot. Made it clear on that quick hitter video, and he's going to Texas. Good for them, and good for Derek. I mean, hey, this is his choice, and fine, we'll be fine.
Well, let's talk about the other defensive lineman, the final one that we thought this commitment could be. So tell us about him, Jimmy.
Yeah, Edric Hill. He's a name that probably you aren't too familiar with out there, Bama fans, just because that's not a name that's come up a lot. He's had several different leans throughout the process, but in the end, here's a guy who's officially visited LSU. He's officially visited Southern Cal. Now he's officially visited Alabama. And hey, I don't know if everybody out there knows what all the rules are, but you only have 50 or I think it's 50 official visits at all. I mean, you can only hand out 50 of these things, and you can only, technically sign 25. I know that rule's been thrown out, but you know what I mean. Everybody's going to sign around 25 anyway, because you can't go over 85. but you only have 50 official visits, right? If you're handing out an official visit to a kid, that means you're damn serious about him. If not a take, it's down to like him and one other kid, right? So if he visited LSU, if he visited Southern Cal and Alabama, this is an elite prospect, even though you haven't heard much of him. 6'1", maybe a little taller than that. I'm going to say 6'2". That's kind of an old measurement, but I would say 6'2", 270. Needs to be a kid. I tell you, reminds me of a little bit on his tape, and I mean as a compliment, even though this kid hasn't played a lot, but he's a little Jamarian Latham. He has a great motor. He's always in the scrum. There's a great clip of him at Oklahoma's camp that I saw on Twitter. He's just at Oklahoma's camp. Oh my gosh, there's one clip. He just flashes his athleticism, and you can't help but see that one clip and go, that's a take. That's a take. It's got to work on his body. Never going to be a Mr. America type kid. He's going to be built like Latham, but great motor, plays hard, violent hands. I think Edric Hill would be a good addition. Maybe he's the one that has committed. If not, I would look for him to perhaps commit to Alabama this week. If Alabama's board is as Alabama believes it is. I mean, he's not a take. He's not a take like over James Smith, over Peter Woods, but he's a guy Alabama's highly interested in.
It is interesting because the Michigan folks thought he was all Michigan 2 days ago. So if he ends up committing to Alabama, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't even. He hasn't visited. He hasn't officially visited there, and there's not one scheduled. So I find that odd, though I'm well aware at one point he was leaning to Michigan. The On3 RPM has him headed to Alabama.
Okay. Well, that's because they're the best in the business, as they say, Jimmy.
That's what we like to think.
That's what you like to think. You ought to get
what we like to think.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. When we come back next episode, we will know exactly who Pete Golding was talking about. We'll talk about that commitment. We're also talking about something AL.com put out that was some unbreakable records in the Alabama record books, or close to unbreakable, nearly unbreakable records. And it was a cool article. I read it. It really sort of blows you away. One of the ones that's my favorite is Derek Thomas's 52 sacks. And not only that, is 27 sacks when he was a senior. You can forget anybody doing that. 27 sacks
that's a lot.
in 1988. That ain't happening. Nobody's doing that crap.
No, it's a good, I'll look this year, not at Will. I don't think Will catching Derek at 27.5 is realistic, but I think Will and Dallas combining for a number is fun. 30? Maybe 30?
Well, I think Will Anderson only has 24.5 for his career, doesn't he?
That might be right. But what I mean is, I think if Will and Dallas get to 30 together, they were pretty close to that last year.
Yeah.
I think 30's realistic and mind-boggling at the same time. And 35 is where you're like, come on. But maybe.
All right, we'll talk about all that more on the next episode. Until then, roll